Hey everyone, we're about to get started on our webinar today, the Channel Recruitment Acceleration Workshop. I'm so excited to be here with you, where today you're going to learn the methodology that data-savvy channel teams use to find and recruit the best qualified partners. We're just going to allow everybody a moment to get in as we just started everything up. We're excited to have you here. I am Laura Stewart, the Director of Online Channel Events for PartnerOptimizer by SaaSMAX, and a former MSP as well. So I'm excited to be here with you. We've got a lot of content we're going to cover today. Just some ground rules while we're waiting for everybody else to join us. We really want you to get ready to do some thinking and create a winning strategy. We are actually going to take you through a worksheet that you can download. If you notice over in the chat, there is the download link, and you can do that right now to download your worksheet. All the participants, with the exception of the presenters, will be on mute, but you can type any of your questions in the question pane, and I will be watching them as our two speakers talk today to bring in whatever questions come up both during and at the end of today's webinar. We're going to go about 30 to 45 minutes with questions, depending on the number of questions that we get today. We really care about your questions, so please type them into the question pane. Be prepared to tune in, close your email, close your phone. Just only thing up on the screen is us talking to you today and you taking notes. We're going to record this session, but it's only available upon request if somebody missed it to actual participants here today. And we're going to be using the best practices form for your ideal partner, and that is at the link inside your chat window. The agenda today: first, I'm going to introduce our two speakers. Then we're going to talk about old school partner recruitment and the results that you got from them. Then we're going to go dive right into building your, and I repeat, your. This is for you to figure out. We're going to help you do that ideal partner profile. We'll talk about the data-driven difference between the way you used to do recruitment and how we're seeing the results prove out that it makes a significant difference to your bottom line. And we're also going to show you a special offer we have when you submit your ideal partner worksheet to us, and you're not going to believe the offer when you get it. So let's just dive right in right now and bring Dina Moskowitz, the CEO and founder of SaaSMAX, and Clint Gatewood, VP Client Success, onto the screen so they can do a little bit more of introducing of themselves. But what I have to say about both of them, they've been in the industry a really long time. They're two of the most brilliant people I know, not just because I know them from the work I'm doing with them, but because I knew them way before SaaSMAX was
Don't
around.
date us too much now. Come on.
Not that long ago.
I mean,
I'm dating myself. I'm dating myself.
Well, that's okay. Just don't date me.
All right, I'm going to drop off camera and let the two of you take over from here.
Sure. Well, I'll start. Great. And thank you, Laura Stewart, who is an incredible channel partner who comes with all sorts of expertise, both as a CEO and leader and expert solution provider perspective, which is always a great way to have moderation of our events. And so I'm Dina. I'm founder of SaaSMAX, PartnerOptimizer, and it's really, it's exciting to be here and be able to depart the knowledge that we've been learning and gaining over the last several years as we built a platform for the channel with a lot of channel domain expertise that helps you to pinpoint the right partners. So I'll introduce Clint Gatewood now, and he's our director, he's our VP of client services and really a co-founder in the company as well. And so, you know, it's cool to be on with channel chiefs like the most of you who are on here today and be able to show you some modern processes that you'll be able to use.
Great. So I'm Clint Gatewood. I've been in channels for over 20 years, and mostly on the MSP side and small to medium businesses and into the larger organizations as well. So I'm just happy to be here today, happy to be able to share the experience of building channels and being on the side of being a channel chief, and then having the excitement and the fun to be able to help other people grow be part of their success within their channel programs. So really, like Laura said, be ready to really think about your ideal partner profile. How did you build yours if you have tried to build one already, or we're really going to teach you how we feel that to do it. We've been evangelizing it out there for 8-9 years. We've been talking about ideal partner profiles, and now the last trade show we went to, like I say, everybody started talking about it. So it's very, very exciting and very, very useful, as we'll see as we come up. If Laura, you go to the next slide, then we'll talk a little about the old school pieces. So Dean, do you want to kick this one up?
Yep. So firstly, in honor of Laura, who loves Star Trek and Star Wars, we had this this little slide here. But old school recruitment practices for building your channel. These are things that we see time and time again, in part because there hasn't been better ways in the past to focus on channel partner recruitment. And so I'll start and we'll go back and forth, Clint. But the first thing that channel chiefs tend to do when they're looking at recruiting is to purchase an industry or competitor contact list. Sounds really like a great idea at first, but so much of what you receive in there are contacts which may be old. They may not actually be at the right companies who have the right qualifications to be your best partners. And just because they may be on a competitor's contact list of partners, it doesn't mean that they're actually even good partners to that competitor. So we see a lot of time wasted and false hopes created by having these lists of contacts, which end up being primarily wasteful. Clint, you take the next one.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit pretty hard too on the second one there as well. Is just that it's really about the company. If the company can work with you, and that's what your ideal partner profile is all about. It's not about investing in contacts, spending money just to buy a contact list because someone hits you up and says, hey, here's a set of managed service providers. Like, yeah, I'll eat them up, and then nothing comes of it. And as you all know, when you buy a list, like 30% of them are bad to begin with in most cases. So, so there's a lot of expense and gnashing of teeth in and around that particular piece. So it can become quite expensive.
Yep. So here's another one where channel teams will spend a lot of their own valuable time, and you're expensive employees to your companies, right? And when you're having to spend time manually surfing the web and surfing through lists in order to qualify and find good partners to recruit, that's the wrong place for you to be spending your time, because you'd rather be spending it on conversations with the right partners and activating the right partners. So that's another area that has really been a point of frustration in the channel and caused a lot of angst and frustration and wasted time.
Yeah, the other one I've felt and always thought about too is like hiring people that have these great Rolodexes, and it's great, and they do have a great Rolodex, but again, it's about the people and them have relationships there. But is the company those other contacts they have, are they really aligned with what you're doing? Are they really going to take a look at it? Or are they already entrenched into another product that it doesn't matter what that contact thinks that they have, it matters what the business is doing, and ripping and replacing or trying to add new services that just doesn't match up. It's really not nearly as effective as everyone wants to think that it is. So, I kind of just take that with a grain of salt. Yeah, those are valuable, but just be careful. Buyer beware is all I would say to that.
Exactly. Hire channel salespeople who can sell the product and the solution and know how to talk to the right prospective partners, as opposed to who they bring in their Rolodex, because unfortunately it shifts too quickly. So here's another one. So they don't spend time researching all the inactive partners that you spent so much money to recruit. You may have mostly inactive partners, as we know, but there are ones in there who are probably really good ones, and there may be a reason that you just don't, that they're not activating. And so being able to research them and learn why, learn what they look like, and maybe there's one thing you could be doing to pivot them. There are definitely pearls in there to be able to uncover, as well as learn why they're not being active. That's an important component as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I lost my track, but things, the sales leak databases and looking at people that have channel partnership discovery, a lot of those, again, it's about the contact. It's not really about the company you're looking at. So all these things that we've talked about so far in the top, these things really used to produce results because we didn't have as many companies out there reaching out to these resellers. Now you got all these people reaching out to them. You really got to be able to understand, to make sure that those companies are good for you and that they really are going to match with your go-to-market strategies, with your financial models and how you're going to business. So just leads out of a database because they work in MSP or they're systems integrator or they're working at a Microsoft Gold partner doesn't mean a whole lot until you really have identified that company, which takes us to the next is the size of company, Dina.
Yep. Well, yeah, so many companies, when we first talk to their channel chiefs, they think that how big that partner company is makes all the difference in the world as to whether or not they're going to have the right customer base for them and be able to be successful with them. And to some degree, there's a little bit of truth there, because you want them to have a sales and marketing arm and to be able to be promoting and digitally marketing your products and solutions to their customer base and beyond. But it doesn't mean that they need to be 50 employees or more in order to be a good potential partner to you. You want to make sure that they have a lot more business attributes that are aligned with you, that are more important than just the size alone. So really important to look holistically.
Yeah, when you look at the competitors, so it is always good to go out to your competitors, partners, and that's something that everyone in the channel has been trained on. That I think it's much better to go after adjacent vendors, so you don't have to go head against that competitor and come up against that rip and replace, or I'm making mine this product already, and how you gonna make me more. So it can be a very antagonistic way of recruiting channel is by attacking the competitor they have there, unless you know they're unhappy with it. But also, just because a partner is on someone's partner directory doesn't mean it's their good ones. I mean, I've heard of people putting some of their partners up there just aren't very good because they know people are scraping their partner list. So you just can't count on that a partner is going to be good in what you're doing just because they are competitors. So just take it with a grain of salt, but it is always good to go after your competitors, but there's easier ways to work your way in the door than just hitting against what they're doing today. Dina?
Yep. Here's another one that, everyone uses really is spray and pray. Let's send out digital marketing and emails and do webinars and just hope something sticks with somebody. And by casting such a wide net, you're losing the opportunity to hyper target and really focus in and spend your time wisely on the right ones who are the right fit. So you're spending more on marketing automation, you're spending more on managing all these contacts, you're delivering potential, what are MQLs to a channel salesperson when they may not actually be qualified. And so that spray and pray technique these days is being replaced by very much account-based marketing, account-based partner marketing, and hyper targeting.
Yeah, exactly. And so we're not saying that the old school didn't work and it doesn't still produce some results today. It's just very intensive from a human capital perspective, from real capital, dollars that are spent on doing it. It's a lot of expense, and you have a lot of things that don't work out at the end of the day with your partner relationships. The one thing I would say here is, before we leave here, when we talk about don't research inactive partners, there are definitely partners in your inactive long tail partners that you want to get, but you also have to remember in doing that is if you're setting up, not setting up a new channel program, but if you're taking over a channel program and you're thinking, well, I can go to all these inactive partners and I'm going to help make my mark here, that's not going to be true in most cases. Yes, you want to look at them, you want to pull out the gems and have a way of doing that, but you have to at some point say, I'm firing all these partners, we got to get rid of them, because the old school way of thinking too is the larger my channel is, the better. And I don't want to have to answer the CEO because I cut it by 3,000 partners. It just doesn't work, because you get caught in that trap. So we'll go on. I couldn't belabor that a little bit more, but
yeah. And whether you're an emerging channel where you're just getting started, where some of you are, or you're a very large, you're in a very large channel program already in a growth stage mode, planning and the power of planning is so critical up front. It doesn't really have to take more time if you do it right, but it makes a huge difference versus all the furious activity. And that's where we bring it into the world of ideal partner profile building. And that's because when you look at this slide, and I think this is pretty much a known fact in the channel, there's an 80-20 rule. And there's even a company named The 20, which is focused on the largest 20, the 20% of the managed service providers, for example, who are the most active. But 80% of partners that you recruit historically have been inactive. And it doesn't have to be that way. It's a quality over quantity perspective and strategic direction or initiative to take. If you can focus on quality and building with the right partnerships, you don't have to deal with so much inactive partnership base that's going to cause a lot of frustration and wasted time and wasted resources and capital and budget.
And I'm sure if you've been in the industry for a while, you're going to feel that. And sometimes I even hear from channel teams that's 90%.
Yeah.
Your inactives are there, and that comes from when I've grown channels as large as 12,500 members in it, and I know from our inactives, as I really sat after we sold that company, then I launched another one, did the same thing. We sold that, and I look back on it, it's like we just recruited the wrong partners; they weren't aligned with us, and that leads into this better way, this ideal partner profile. And Laura gets a big yes from our captain there. But you want to handle some more of this slide too?
Yeah, well, this is going to be sort of the beginning of where we want your participation, and giving you, the insight to the approach of building your ideal partner profile. And it's focused on these 4 core areas of what your partner should look like. Tech stack insights, ideal customer profile should match with yours. They have the right expertise and qualifications to be able to sell your product and consume and resell your product to the right customers, and that their company persona is the type of business model that works well with the business model of your channel partner program. And so when we go to the next slide, that's where we can talk about this in a little more depth. So while we're talking about this, if you haven't already opened up your worksheet to build your ideal partner profile, we encourage you to do so. The link is, you can see it visibly there, but it's also in the chat box for those of you who arrived a little bit late. So please go ahead and download that. It's a requested from a form, and so then it'll open up for you. And so the way that savvy channel teams are doing that strategic work up front is there's manual and then there's automated ways, right? We, of course, help with both, but the manual way is definitely sufficient if you're just getting started, if you're trying to get your arms around your partner program in the first place, and if you need your stakeholders to all participate together in the buy-in of what your ideal partner program is. So when you start out and strategize around building your ideal partner profile, you start by using a worksheet like the one that we have, unless you have something else, which we encourage you to as well. Ours, as you'll see, will be a little more customized based upon the concept of being able to take this and then automate it so that you can use systems like ours that can really go in hyper speed to really bring forward data-driven ideal partner profile business attributes that you may not otherwise get access to. After you strategize on it, then you get to discover those partners, right? And discover based upon a roadmap, based upon an ideal partner profile that everyone is aligned on, rather than just, buying lists and getting a conference thing here and doing an advertising campaign here. You'll know what you're looking for, and much more easily, you and your team and your channel salespeople and channel marketers will be able to target everything you're doing toward the right partners instead of a general one. And that's very important in areas like in cybersecurity and business productivity and IT services, because channel partners are hearing the same value propositions over and over again and aren't able to distinguish. But once you're able to really know who those partners are and what attributes they have, you can differentiate in how you speak to them and how you communicate and how you message to them, and it makes a big difference. You just have to try it to know for yourself. And of course, I'm
sorry. Just to build on what you said there, Dina, sorry to break in, but if you do have bigger channel programs, really understanding who those channel members are to a really great degree in the profile, but also how to reach out to them so you don't sound tone deaf, either to the new audiences you're trying to bring in or your internal audiences that you have. Understand which ones are, say, managed service providers that are selling to healthcare organizations that are also dental offices, and they have these different certifications. To understand that and be able to communicate to that group, say if you got 5,000, 10,000, 2,000, whatever it is, partners, but to be able to talk to them in groups of 150 to 250 about their business, about how they're going to market, and then you have the other groups doing that, your loyalty is just going to jump through the roof, and you're not going to lose that, because right now with all the noise going out there, having this profile and then benchmarking your partners against it will allow you to break them into groups that you can be really effective with the growing of those partners, right? So the enablement and the growth of the revenue. So sorry to break into you. I just want to make sure that you understand that this is not just about finding great brand new partners, which is really good at, but it's also about understanding what you have, what you can get rid of because they don't match your profiles, and which ones to focus on, to continue your growth with.
Trajectory, yeah. And then it comes down to recruiting. Once you have that in place and everyone's bought in, and then you've found those right partners, your recruitment efforts are going to accelerate by 5x. And if you accelerate your recruitment, it means you're also going to accelerate the ability for those partners to perform, because of the right partners who have the right customers, who have the right sales mechanisms to be able to sell your solutions into their customer base. And everything reduces in friction, and it's incredible. So that's what we want to be able to pass along, is giving you those tips and tips of the trade that we've learned, whether manual or leveraging us through automation, that will help you do that and accelerate your recruitment by 5x, and accelerate your channel and exceed your KPIs in Q1 instead of taking through until Q4. So let's move to the next slide. Hopefully everyone has their deck already, their form open already. And while you're looking at the form, what we want to do is just bring your attention to the nuances of the questions that are asked in the form, because we can't really see each one of your forms individually, at least right now, and we'd love to, edit them and provide suggestions when you've completed them, and have a special offer for you. But it's more important that you take this time now to understand and hear from us what's important within these questions and why we're asking them, and to think about them a little differently the way we do, so that you will capture the essence of improving that profile build. So
Right,
Clint,
and
you want
to talk here about, if you have that form opened up, we're going to be talking about the second section, the foundational first 4 areas are for you, about you, and about what you do and what you have today, and then what are your, then we're going to be talking about where it starts in the second half of the sheet.
Good. So I assume that everyone's had it downloaded now and probably has it open. And so, yeah, go ahead. We divided it into these 4 buckets, which we showed in an earlier slide, but now we'll go into the specifics in each bucket. We're going to talk a little fast because we don't want to, we want to get this all done fairly quickly, but we do encourage you to take the time after this to go back and fill in more and revisit and take, listen to the instructions. So when it comes to partner persona, we're asking what kind of company types, what are the business models that these partners are, which are you think are ideal, which are your most successful partners are, so that you can replicate those. Are they managed service providers? Are they a break fix consultant? Are they an MSSP or a security expert? Are they perhaps an accountant? Whatever they may be, list down what they are as a business, what do they call themselves, and what is their business model? How do they make money?
Yeah, it's very important to understand that part, right? Because especially in the partner company types, we talk about an MSP, but what does that mean to be an MSP? What does it mean to be an SI or a break fix company or a consulting company? This tells you a lot about how they want to go to market, how they are not want to go to market, it's how they are going to market, it's how they're driving revenues and how they're bringing that in. If your business models aren't aligned, it's going to be very difficult to continue to grow those relationships in most cases. And the solutions and services are going to tell you what is it that they're selling to their clients today, what are they marketing out there, what is it that they're good at doing, because they have to do all the service delivery around those services. So that'll tell you if they're adjacent to what you're selling, they have expertise in being able to do these types of functions and features. Right. So.
And before we go too far, for example, with partner company types, you may also have a feeling about what is not a good partner company type, right? And you want to write that down too, and make sure everyone understands that, someone who is an accountant is not a good reseller partner for you, or someone that has, too much focus on marketing versus on cybersecurity is not good. So make sure that you articulate not just what is ideal, but what is a bad one, so that you can avoid them. And
yeah,
same
and
thing with
what your customers would be aligned to. I mean, the whole thing of what vertical markets is your product. I know a lot of companies will tell me, well, we're horizontal, we're good for everyone. Well, that might be, but a lot of the solution providers, a lot of resellers out there do have specific markets, or they are working in niche markets. And as SaaS companies, many SaaS companies are very niche and going into, say, dental offices or chiropractor offices, or just legal firms of a certain size. So understanding that you're talking to a reseller that's going to be selling into enterprise, if that's where you want to be. But if you get an enterprise person that signs up for you, company that signs up for you, but you're selling into the small Zoho businesses, that's a pretty bad fit. It's just not going to work out that well. So, and being in the same geographical region. So understanding that it's really taking your buyer persona and put it on top of your resellers and looking at, are they addressing my buyer personas?
Right. Well, when you have your customer focused insight, your company, I'm certain in your marketing department has an ideal customer profile. You want the ideal customer profile of your solution to match the ideal customer profile of your partner. And that includes the verticals they're targeting, the size of the customer, the type of the customer, whether it's government or nonprofit or education or fintech or whatever they may be, as well as that geographic region. So it's really important. If you don't have that alignment there, you're going to clash and waste time as well. And again, in those same areas, what don't you serve? What don't you want to touch? There are countries and regions that you may not be allowed to do business with. And you want to make sure that that's clearly identified, not just for you as the channel chief, but your channel salespeople and channel marketers and your outside marketing agencies, so that everyone is on the same page. Then we move over to tech stack insights. And this is critical because based upon the tech stack that they're selling to their partner base, to their customer base, means that they'll likely be talking to the right purchasers within the ideal customers. So if they're not aligned in these things, if they're not already selling solutions that match up with your product, they probably have the wrong buyers that they have relationships with. So it's important to know both from a tech stack standpoint of what they actually know from expertise, but also who they're selling to and who is actually making that purchase with them. Because you could do all sorts of cross-mapping, but if you're cross-mapping a partner who is selling marketing solutions and you're selling IT, you're not going to be having the right relationships to pinpoint and to leverage together.
Yeah, one of my favorites there is adjacent vendors. Again, we talked about competitive before. Those adjacent vendors give you a good, easier way to get into a solution provider or reseller or whatever your channel partner looks like, because you're able to augment what they're already doing, or you're making it better, or you're driving up their revenues that they can get from their clients that are doing these adjacent type of vendors or products, or you're mitigating risks that's going to, in the long term, make sure that they're protecting their own profits in their own company. So there's a lot of reasons why to go into adjacent vendors, whereas going into a competitive vendor, again, it's one of those, it's more of an aggressive stance of going in and trying to knock them off. And you have to be very careful, because you could real quickly, if your people don't know what they're saying or doing, could insult them. So, and again, a lot of resellers don't like to rip and replace. It's very costly, especially if they're using those products, or if they built their services on top of them, as in a lot of SIs can do. You have to be very delicate in how you go about that, and it's a longer sales cycle than if you can really show them where you're going to bring them value and profits and mitigate risk working with adjacent vendors and products.
Right, and that's an important thing to share with your stakeholders in your partner recruitment is, do you want to have new partners who are going to be already working with the same type of product that you already, that you sell and therefore replace? Or do you want partners who have never sold a product in your space, in your category, but are still selling within your space and could use this as an upsell? It's easy if you have a new tech, a new solution that can be added to a stack, but if you're competing directly with a product, then it's a very important strategic decision to go through with your team and say, are we going to go head on and try to replace, or do we want to avoid and just find those partners who don't yet have that type of solution in their stack?
Or when you do see it, the other point to that too, though, is that if you do see they're using a competitor, that's okay. You can go ahead and talk to them about the other piece. That gives you an opening to talk to a different team or talk to a different person, to where you're not touching this. You get in, and then you stealthily take over the other company, your competitor.
Right, and in this area, which is really important as well, is this allows you to know, like many of us talk about going through distribution. Does that distribution have enough of the products in the same stack as you, to where they're obviously successful with their partners driving sales? So if you are looking at two-tier, you want to make sure the distributor has the right ideal partners in their catalog based upon their tech stack as well. And then the final bucket that we call additional qualifications really allows you to get into how deeply and how much expertise that partner needs to have in order to be a good partner to you. Do they have certain compliances that they talk about a lot and sell? Are they a member of partner programs or have certain partner tier levels that they've achieved with important vendors that are adjacent to you or competing? What about certifications? And then other data points that might be nuances and very critical to, maybe they have to be in the Oracle ecosystem or the Azure ecosystem or whatever it may be. What are those in-depth expertises that you want them to have that may not necessarily mean that they know your product well, but they still have a deep area of expertise that is great to align with, and that that they're committed to having the qualifications that you think that they have. So hopefully everyone's gotten a sense of what goes into building an ideal partner profile from putting these down on paper. The next thing that we ask you to do, and we can change the slide now, is to go to some of your best partners. And everyone here pretty much has partners that they already work with, who we hope are active in driving you revenue. And if not, I'm glad you're here too. But we want you to basically go and validate your hypothesis of everything that you're putting down in your forms by looking at the websites of your most active partners to learn what they're talking about, to learn, are they calling themselves an MSP or an IT security consultant or anything else? Are they, what solutions and services are they featuring? You probably never had time to think about their true full tech stack before and their true expertise, because we typically get stuck thinking only about ours as opposed to all the other things that they should be doing at the same time. So doing that research up front, again, it's the power of planning and the power of the strategy up front. It's actually pretty fun and interesting, because when you know partners real well, and you usually know your active partners really well, being able to go to their website and see if that's reflected is a really healthy exercise. You get to know them better, and then you have more conversation points to talk with them about, and you learn many more data-driven insights to add to this worksheet that we have here.
Yeah, and it's important too, as you fill out your form, it's also important when you go and look at those websites that you're not just looking for the terms that you put down. So this is also a mistake I see people making, and the same mistake that they make when they make a competitive analysis. You don't write your own features and benefits down and then go out and compare yourself to the world. You want to go the other way. You look at your competitors and you understand what they're doing and write down all the features and benefits they have, and you compare yourself to them. And it's the same here. I mean, it's okay to write down and fill out the form and put your stuff in, but when you go look at the websites, don't become blind just by looking, say, for these 3 terms under partner business models. Look for other things that they're talking about and how often are those things showing up for you across their different web pages. So it's about you putting down, because when you fill out the form, you're putting down what you think it is, or your other stakeholders putting down what you think it is, and by and large, you're probably right to an extent, but you're missing things that really kind of make your partners unique to you. So it's very important to make sure you keep some type of objectivity when you're doing it.
Yeah, there's a good piece of advice that I was given a long time ago, which is what you pay attention to determines what you see, but what you pay attention to also determines what you miss. So we're asking you to look at things with a bigger, broader view, sort of like a kid in a candy store when you go and start researching, your best active partners, and look for what you maybe weren't seeing before. Take away the tunnel vision of your product and solution and broaden it so that you can understand your partner's business and your partner's tech stack and your partner's expertise and how they make money and who their customer is.
And where are they putting their mind share? Is their mind share on what you need them to do? If there's too much mind share elsewhere, I don't know.
Yep. Okay, so next slide. Thanks. So this is where we feature and highlight the impact of the data-driven ideal partner profiling, which is what we just shared with you that you're doing manually. you're putting all the information down. You're then going and researching and bringing it back, which is critical. The learning process that you'll have is way more insightful than you may realize. It may be grueling, but it's a lot less grueling than having to now, do spray and pray and go back to the old ways of just, basically letting anyone in and wasting all that time. And so by doing that up front, you're much smarter. And the data-driven component of it can be manifested in an even more powerful way, which is the engine that we built. And we wanted to show you this and how it manifests in a data-driven way, because again, what you pay attention to determines what you see or what you miss. And this is the type of table that we generate to show that when we look at a set of best performing partners and we roll up all the data that we find in their from their digital footprint online, we're able to tell you what attributes they have in common. And some of these attributes, like the ones that are in gray, are ones that the channel team would say those were obvious to them. But then the ones that show up in purple are additional ones that were not obvious. And yet they become all part of what an ideal partner profile looks like, especially if you want to use that to build a query and to share with stakeholders and to talk about your messaging with them. Because there's about half of the data-driven terms here that our engine's able to pick up were not actually featured or recognized initially by the channel team. It doesn't mean that the channel team is doing anything wrong. It just means that the engine, which is an AI data-driven engine, is going to find a lot more than we can find manually when we have blinders and are focused on our own products and solutions. So when you're able to do this, and then you're able to build a profile and then do partner discovery and partner recruitment around a very targeted ideal profile, your conversion is going to accelerate and everything moves even faster. So that's what we wanted to demonstrate here. And if we go to the next slide, which Clint, maybe you want to talk about.
Yeah, so this gets you to market a lot faster, is what Dina's really saying, is that we can research and look at it and compare it to hundreds of thousands of partners very, very quickly and look and see what are those ones out there that we discover and through the insights and through the data-driven profile. And that's how we start really working with you, is looking at the best way to build your profile in a data-driven way is to provide 20 to 30 current partners. If you can do 10, but if that 15 to 30, 35 mark really starts to give you a good data-driven profile, partners that are performing for you today that you want more of, and we analyze those and we build out that data-driven profile. You still fill out the form that you're filling out here, but the data-driven profile becomes your base, and then we work with you to look at that ideal partner profile form that you fill out and marry those up by ranking the different terms and the different areas and where you need them ranked and what really needs to have to be the most important. And from there, we find new partners and net new partners that are not within your ecosystem today for you to go recruit and bring on to your company. We also do scoring and segmentation, like I mentioned before. So if you have a large channel program today, you have a lot of inactive partners, we can, or if you have multiple product sets and you're trying to figure out which partners are good for each set, we can definitely come in and help you really understand that in the segmenting, the grading, the scoring, and which partners that are selling A will be good for C, and which ones, vice versa, right? So it's all about leveraging the insights and really driving and getting to light speed is great, but what I talk about is really how do you get that sustainable partner revenue faster from the day that you start to market to the day you start looking for partners to the day that you start driving revenue consistently from each channel partner that you can bring in. So what's that time to market, that time to delivery, and this will speed up, like Dina was 4 or 5 times because you're bringing in better partners. Go ahead.
Yeah, and no, it's the power of planning allows you to have quality over quantity. And that's where that friction gets reduced and everything increases in value and in time and success rates. And yeah, the engine today has over 200,000 partners that have been profiled and that are freshly being profiled. And so it's extremely powerful and extremely quick. And once you know that ideal partner profile, you can iterate on it. You can track trends on how your partner profile changes over time based upon real trends among your existing partners and be able to tweak and continue to discover net new partners. So next slide, please.
Yeah. Because it's all about taking that it's all about taking that 80-20 rule and standing on its head and saying, okay, now the people that I bring on, 80% of them are going to be productive. They may not be as big as your other partners, but you're going to have a bigger set. You're always going to have 80-20. That's just the way it works, because if I recruit mostly all good partners, then they're all going to be growing well, but I'm still going to have those gems that still shine in that. But the point is that you're not dragging with you this dead weight, because that's what it is. These partners come up once in a while and they waste your team's time, and then you think, oh, they're going to do something. You start working with them again. It doesn't work that way. So I'll let you talk more about this side of it too, Dina, but it's just about, let's get a better 80-20 role going, so that everyone can be productive. I'm not losing money on 80% of my channel instead of the way it is.
Yeah, I think we can go to the next slide. Actually, we've probably talked about the ROI of this already, and we just want everyone to do well. This is just another example in a quantified way of how, when you leverage an engine like PartnerOptimizer versus an end lead contact engine to try to hone in on partner recruitment, to partners to discover to recruit. One of our customers was able to do a direct comparison and found that the using of an ideal partner profile in the way that we were able to provide it allowed them to accelerate recruitment by in half the time. They recruited basically, like 15% of the partners in 45 days, whereas with the old way, they recruited less than 1% of the partners in 90 days. And so, in terms of outperformance and acceleration and all that, when you put it to the test, it truly does work. It's definitely what you pay attention to determines what you see, and you're going to perform better. And, so let's move to the next slide. So you go, Clint.
All right, cool, sure. So kind of recapping, the old way is the way I always did it too, is I had 25, 30 SDRs, and I had on the backside of that, I had 20 account managers, and each account manager and a team of 2 would have a technical account manager assigned to them to manage and bring those partners on, and even had a partner recruitment team in between that. So you had SDR, partner recruitment team, and then a partner management team. And that's just the old way of just going out there and we're going to bring everything in. I'm going to scoop as much as I can in, and I'll clean the garbage out as I move forward. That's really what it comes down to at the end of the day. And that's why we have that 90-80 rule instead of going the other way with it. So the new way is really identifying who are those companies, not people. It's about who are those companies that are aligned with your go-to-market strategy and how you want to drive revenue and work. So this is all about, I need to look at, you get good stakeholder participation, you get a good strategic direction, you get a good set of partner companies that you want to go after, and from there you start to drive your engine. And then the data-driven ideal partner profile and the way that we're moving things forward and helping customers out is really getting rid of that human error, bringing in a lot of hundreds of years of domain knowledge into a platform that understands how to look at and profile and bring together what I call a DNA map of all these partners matched to what your DNA map is of what a best partner looks like, and bringing them together in a fast, automated way. I know a lot of people say, well, I've got these people in India and they're calling and they're putting things on paper, and they've got 2,000 partners. It's going to take 6 months. Well, by the time they're done, they've already updated their websites. All those things have been done. We can do that in a week. I mean, it's right. Fast, it's accurate, and can provide you a lot of value in being able to move forward much faster. You don't have to wait 3 months. You don't have to wait 6 months, a month and a half. You're in the market going after targets that you're confident are almost MQ or SQLs already. They're right there. You just need that one couple, just get them past the line. So I'm sure you want to add some of that, Dina.
Well, just that when you have a platform where you can look at all the data in a way that's easy to digest, the insights start to pop out in a more obvious way. And it's rather than this spreadsheet of stuff, you can, or even a PRM where you have to go one by one, you can start to see the insights that roll up that become trends. They become insights that are predictable, and you want to be able to leverage those. They're actionable insights. So being able to drive campaigns around which partners have certain business attributes, you can do that easily as well. Let's say you wanted to focus or do even test out a new concept around a productization of a vertical or a horizontal, whatever it may be, you have the data at your fingertips to pull in that focus group or pull in that ideal set of partners who can help you achieve those things. So it's pretty exciting to have the data and have the partners viewed in these ways.
Yeah, don't forget to put your questions in. I just want to remind you, put any questions you have because we're coming to the end. So please, questions, whatever you have there. We got quite a few there so far, but
no problem. Hopefully everyone is filling their forms out. So when we go to the next slide, oh, this is just examples of how we roll that data up into what we call informatics and insights. So for example, we can show you on the bottom side, this little chart says your partner's market focus, right? We found that the best performing partners of this one company were mostly focused on banking and financial. But when you look at all of the partners they had let in, most of them are focused on professional services. So of course, there's an obvious insight there, which is find those partners focused on banking and financial and target them. Spend more time on them than the others, because there's obviously a trend there that matters. We look at, other, across all those different business attributes, we're able to tell you these insights so that you can really allow the cream to rise to the top.
Yep.
And then the next slide. So this brings us to the end of our workshop, and hopefully you've been completing your form. And we want you to, if you're comfortable with it, we'd love you to send us your worksheet. And if you do so, we'll do a little analysis on your ideal data-driven partner profile, and we'll tell you how many partners we've identified in our database look like they match your partner profile by a factor of excellent, very good, or good. And that will allow you, probably for the first time ever, to have a good idea of how many partners there are out there for your specific product and solution, so that you can plan better in the year ahead and maybe want to know who those partners are. So we would love to do that and share that with you and show you how we do it and show you a demo one-on-one with your specific solution. And we would love to help you grow your channel in 2022. So regardless of whether you leverage PartnerOptimizer or not, you now have the tools to act like a modern data-driven channel team to do the planning today, so that your growth of your channel will be healthy and strong and accelerated for the year ahead.
great, excellent. Thanks for coming. We'll try and do a few questions. Sorry, we thought we were going to get through this faster than we did. So yep. We did take up a lot of time, and with questions, we'll send them back. But if you want to stay, if there are questions, Laura, what are any questions we have?
Well, the two of you actually answered so many questions that were posted as you were going along. So most of them have already been asked and answered throughout the presentation. One question that has come up is, has there been any gotcha that you've noticed from somebody present? I'm trying to paraphrase a couple of these questions. Has there been a consistent gotcha beyond what you've already talked about when people are putting their ideal partner profiles together, and then the data that comes out?
Tons of them.
Yeah, usually, I mean, it's, a lot of it is just the business models that come out, the mismatch in those areas, where like when we do the data-driven profile for what they thought that they gave us, a lot of it is, isn't so much the business model, but it's in the real devil in the details, right? So the different vertical markets, as Dina pointed out, the certifications or the different partner programs that they're in, the different products that they're looking at. Some of the other gotchas that's really interesting is like someone will say, well, this is my best partners. Here's a couple of my best partners. And we go in and we look at how much that partner's talking about them compared to their competitors. It's a big mismatch, right? So it's like you think you're getting a lot of revenue from here, but your competitor, the density of how much more ingrained they are with your competitor is way bigger than yours. So yeah, that's a conversation you need to have with that partner, right? Because it's a best partner. And Dina, I'm sure you have some other ones on top of mind you want to give to that too.
No, that's great. I mean, we had a recent customer who was thinking that their partners were MSPs, but they didn't realize that a lot of the partners that they had that they like are actually virtual, CTOs. right? Or virtual CIOs, I think it was. So, you know, when you start to realize there's a business model you're missing, right, it allows you to understand that, okay, we're probably missing certain other characteristics as well, and you want to go after a whole different partner type than you thought you were going after in the first place. There's another example, like if you're in cybersecurity, and I know several are here, you may be looking for MSSPs, managed security solution providers, but not all MSSPs will call themselves MSSPs. You know, they may just call themselves security consultants. And so we're able to identify all the different characteristics through other means, other business attributes that demonstrate it is an MSSP, even if they're not using that actual term right there. And it doesn't mean that because they're not using that term that it's not an ideal partner to go for. You may have missed it because it wasn't on a list. So those are great insights that can, you know, get extracted forward.
Great. And the last thing, it's not a question, it's really more a comment somebody made, that they believe that using this solution will help them craft better conversations so they're not entering the call with a generic pitch.
Mm-hmm.
They actually understand so much more so that their teams can have an initial conversation that is really closer to what used to be a second or third conversation. So
That's all. That's being the time to signing that partner, right, and getting through all that white noise.
I mean, Laura, you know, when a vendor calls you about a product and they don't even know anything about you, you realize that it's a waste of your time, and they're talking at you instead of with you, right? And
yeah, exactly.
What do you do? Click.
Most of the time, it never made it past the front gate to me to even get there. You know? So we're out of time, but I want to thank both of you for an incredible presentation today. The comments are reflecting that as to the information, and I'd like everybody to remember the offer. Send us your worksheet after you've finished it. We'll share your total addressable ideal partner market. And if you want further information, there is a short survey after this. We'd love it for you to fill it out. Submit everything to PartnerOptimizer at SaaSMAX.com. Dina and Clint, always a pleasure.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Have a great
everyone.
day, everyone.
Good luck with your plan.